Hi everybody, it's me Tex. Normally I don't do an introduction to my stuff, but this time I'm going to do. You'll notice in this thing coming up, I'm not wearing a suit or a tie. I'm not sat behind a desk, and I haven't got pencils and stuff on the desk, and I haven't got any flags behind me because I don't want to appear important. I'm not important. A lot of you guys out there, you're not important too. But if we all get together, we can be important. And because I got no suit, tie, desk and flags, I'll probably be telling you the truth. Hope you enjoy this. Hi there, Tex here. I'm going to sing you a song like usual, but first I'm going to do a party political broadcast on behalf of the Tex Party. Now, it's been a month since England kicked itself in the ass and bounced out of Europe, and did that to a couple of other countries too. I mean, the whole thing was started off by Nigel Farage and his FUCK wits, and then carried on by Zombie S of May, and finished off by the Blonde Balloon in typical style. Every time I see that guy, it reminds me of Billy Bunter trying to do an impersonation of Winston Churchill. Gee, how did he get to be Prime Minister? Anyway, that's by the by. So there are lots of reasons given for the Brexit, like the sovereignty of the fish and all that sort of stuff, but a lot of people realize that that wasn't true. But you can fool some of the people some of the time. And I think in the next month or so, it'll become clear what the real reasons are for the Brexit. And they're the same old reasons, which is privilege, power, and greed. So, I don't know. What can we do? What can we do? Well, I've got some ideas of how we can sort of fix everything, so hope you'll listen to me here. Now, the first place we'll go to Scotland. Now, Scotland had a vote several years ago, a referendum to see if they could become independent. Now, before the vote, a whole lot of Tory politicians came up to Scotland and tried to persuade them not to leave. Was that because they loved them? Well, possibly not. And some of the things that they said were, I don't know, difficult to take. They were saying there that if Scotland left England, they would be automatically kicked out of Europe. People have said this, like, what's his name now, William Vague. He is a Eurosceptic. He's always hated Europe, and he was telling the Scots this. And then someone said, Scotland will never be taken out of the European Union by England. Now, the people that made these statements, I would say they're disingenuous. That's a polite way of saying lying bastards. So next time you people in Scotland get some politicians coming up saying not to leave, think what it's all about. The reason they don't want you to leave is in the sea. No, it's not the sovereignty of the fish. It's underneath the sea. That's what they want. If you didn't have that, they wouldn't be asking you to stay. So, next referendum, what you have to do is remember promises that were made the last time. There were all sorts of promises about investment, and we'll do this and we'll do that. They're all on record. So what you need to do is check out what actually happened after that. It's interesting. The answer is nothing. So in your next referendum, and the Blonde Balloon says you can't have one. So what you should do is go and tell the Blonde Balloon, it's Scottish here, go and boil its head, which means go and boil his head. Because you're a country in your own right, and you can do what you want. So there we go. Scotland, perhaps back into Europe. I live in Europe and travel around Europe a lot, and I can tell you that Scotland is held in high regard in Europe. People love Scotland and its people. Don't you worry about them letting you back in fairly soon. Next place we'll go to is Northern Ireland. Now you know what they feel about you, hey? Those guys in Westminster, you helped them bail them out when they couldn't get a majority government, some of you politicians in Northern Ireland. Hey, I bet you wish you didn't do that. So here you are now, and they haven't got much of a regard for what you really want, have they? I think the only thing you can possibly do is to reunite Ireland. Now, if the only thing that's holding you back are religious differences, you have to remember that it's the same religion. And in the Bible it says, thou shalt love thy neighbor. Now if you can't get past that, well, hell mend you, as they say. But I think there's enough clever people in the north of England to realise that it's their option for a brighter future. So you do that. That's 2 countries long. So now we'll go over the Irish Sea to Wales. About 900 years ago, Edward I of England invaded Wales, trashed the place, built some castles, filled those castles full of soldiers, and put Wales under the yoke. Still there. His nickname was a great name. It's Edward Longshanks, Hammer of the Scots. He didn't actually hammer the Scots. It's maybe too far away. The logistics were difficult then. And so Wales, there you are. You've got your own Senate. And that came from the 60s when Labour politicians, Harold Wilson, people like that, and your own sort of people as well got together. That was the birth of Clyde Cymru, and you got together, and you've now got a Senate. You're about to get that taken away from you. You know that, don't you? Part of leaving Europe was to centralise all the decision making in the United Kingdom, bring it to Westminster. So the Scottish Parliament, the Welsh Senate, the Assembly in Northern Ireland. If you don't act quickly, it's another 900 years. So my mother was Welsh, and so I'm willing to come over and help. I lived in a little village called Llanamonach on the borders. You try pronouncing that, you English guys out there, hey? And out the back of my garden there was a place with a big ditch, and that ditch ran from the Mersey estuary all the way down to the Severn estuary, and it was the border of Wales, and it was built by Offa to keep the Welsh out. He was King of Mercia, and the Welsh were a bit rambunctious then, and if you watch them playing rugby now, there's not much difference, I'd say. So what I'm suggesting is that we redig Offa's Dyke. I'll come over and put a shift or 2 in. I've got my own shovel, and I think we should dig it with shovels rather than JCBs and stuff like that, because it'd be good for the soul. And then what we do is we fill it full of water. And in the olden days with Offa, he didn't know much about hydraulics, but technology's moved on. We can fill that dike full of water, and then here's the cool bit. We go over to South America, a couple of big ships out of Cardiff Bay, and bring back a whole load of piranhas and put them in that dike. That should work, don't you think? Hey? So that's Wales sorted out. We'll go down south now to London. All the people in London, they're taking it hard because most of them voted to stay in Europe. Big majority there. So what can you do? What can you do? Well, look over into Europe, across the old grey gutter, and you'll see there's a little country called Luxembourg, right in the middle of all sorts of other countries. And it's doing just fine. You London guys think, Londonburg. Hey, what do you think of that? You've got a frontier around you at the moment, an impassable barrier. Yep, the M25. And you could use that as a giant car park, which actually is what it is. And you could use it for paying ride into the centre of London for all those guys outside in the home counties and other places They want to go in and go shopping, go to the theatre, for art galleries and museums. Talking of museums, you could turn the Houses of Commons into a museum of politics, because the guys in there, they'd have to move because they wouldn't be in England anymore, so they'd have to have a new Houses of Parliament, maybe in Milton Keynes or somewhere like that. So there it is, Houses of Parliament, Museum of Politics. But hang on, it probably is a museum of politics just now, isn't it? And then you could maybe do like Madame Tussauds. You could fill it full of dummies. Oh, yeah, it's full of dummies now, isn't it? But you know what I mean, anyway, you know what I mean. And you've got your own port straight into Europe. You've got your fast link under the sea over to Europe. Work out fine, sure it would. You've got a good mayor at the moment, Sadiq Khan, and hopefully the next one's good too, not like the blonde balloon, the last one you had. Wonder what he's doing now. Oh yeah, he's Prime Minister of England. Did anyone vote for him? Maybe the political, I don't know, parliamentary system could do with a bit of a shake-up. Okay, so that's a few places sorted out. Let's head up north now. In the olden days, Britain was made up of separate kingdoms. There was things like Wessex and Sussex and stuff down south, and there were two big ones up north. There was Northumbria and Mercia. Now, I'm thinking that let's recreate them. So Northumbria would be from the Scottish border down, down to Yorkshire and Lancashire border, and capital would be Newcastle, great city, good fun place. And they've got a port which can get you over to Europe. And on the other side, there's some little ports that could maybe bring stuff from America if you wanted, like chlorinated chicken. Maybe not, I don't know. But the whole place will work just fine. And then down below, that's Mercia. Now, Mercia was different. You know, it kind of shrunk and got bigger. In Offa's time, it went all the way down the Welsh border. Later on, it was a bit smaller, so you'll have to ask people if they want to come in on it. So if those Brummy guys want to come in, I'd let them in. They're good guys, hard workers, and they got some good ideas. Capital of Mercia would be Manchester. And ports both sides. You've got Liverpool for access to America if you want more chlorinated chicken. And then you've got on the east side Hull, which is access straight into Europe. Fantastic place. The only trouble is that Hull's in Yorkshire. Now, Yorkshire people have always wanted to be independent, but independent of everybody. So what you'd have to do is you'd have to give them a little bit of a sweetener. Now, I think we'll look over again to the European examples we have, and you've got France, and on the coast, the Mediterranean coast of France, there's a little place, it's a principality, it's called Monaco. So what I'm suggesting is you offer Europe to come into Yorkshire to come into Mercia, you offer them a principality. They can be a little principality by themselves, so they got their independence. Of course, what they would need would be a prince. And that's where I come in. I'm going to throw my hat in the ring for Prince of Yorkshire. Now, I think I've got a good chance of getting the gig because I used to live in Yorkshire, so I could speak the language to the nose. And I can do all sort of things that Yorkshire men can do. I can peel an orange in my pocket. I can sing all the verses of Ilkley Mo Bar Tat, even when I've had 7 pints of Timothy Taylor's bitter, landlord bitter, the strongest. You know, it's good stuff. And the other things I can do. Oh yeah, I know the Yorkshire war cry. How much? So I think they'd maybe give me the gig. There's a few things I'd need. I would need a palace. If you're a prince, you need a palace. Now, I'd just make do with a little terrace house, 2 up, 2 down. I'd fix it up a bit myself, and I don't mind paying rent, and I'd go down B&Q and buy some gold paint and paint it up so it looked a bit like a palace, back-to-back palace, that sort of thing. And I'd also need, outside of it, I'd need a designated parking space for my stretch limo. Now, it wouldn't be an expensive stretch limo. We could get a second-hand one on Gumtree or eBay or something like that, so don't you guys go worrying. And I need a chauffeur, but my pal Steve will do that for me, and my wife will sort of knock him up a uniform because she's good at that sort of stuff. And Steve's a mechanic, so he could do the oil changes and pump up the tires and all that sort of stuff. And I'd go riding around in my limo because that's what princes and presidents mainly do. They ride around in limos waving at people like that. It's a big part of the job. I think I could do that quite easily. The one thing I wouldn't be doing, though, is interfering in the running of Yorkshire, because that'd be up to people that are much smarter than me and know what it's all about. So I'd just be a kind of figurehead. Once presidents and princes and royalty start interfering in the running of a country, it's a slippery slope. It can only lead to disaster, I think. So, that's it. I think it's a good enough idea. Oh, before I take the job, there's one thing I would be needing. It's that I would like all pubs that are serving beer, the beer in those pubs, to be cut by 2/3 the price. Take most of the tax off, because at the moment pubs in Britain are being strangled a slow death by taxes. I mean, the guys that run governments, they don't go to pubs. They sit around in gentlemen's clubs, drinking champagne or Chateau de Neuf, Papin or something like that, and nibbling on caviar and smoking big cigars. So they don't go down to the pub and play pool and play darts and do karaoke and do the pub quizzes or anything like that. So they won't care about them. So we'd have to do that. And I'm sure the other new nations in the reunited kingdom would probably look at that and think, hey, we should do that too. So there we go. So there's the reunited kingdom. And all you guys in the reunited kingdom, you can get together and you can probably drive down from Scotland all the way through Northumberland, into Mercia, through into Wales, get a boat over to Ireland, so it's all connected. But you don't have to sort of meet up. You could just do Zoom sessions and say things like, hey, you guys, I found a really neat way of doing this. That's why I think the pub thing would work well. Okay, so where do we go from here? What's left? Well, that's about half the population of the United Kingdom away and back into Europe. So that just leaves the people in England. Now, I think it would be difficult to continue to call it England. A bit confusing. So maybe need a new name. Now, I talked to my pal Angela, and she came up with a great one, which is Dog in a Manger Land. Now, I know it sounds a bit Germanic, but you've got to remember, your royal family are Germans, so you'll get used to it, I'm sure. Now, all you guys in Dog in a Manger Land, you'd just be fine. You'd be doing all the things that you voted for and you wanted. You'd be sending the Royal Navy out, patrolling our sovereign waters and making sure Johnny foreigner fishermen didn't steal any pilchards and stuff like that, shooting across the bows, and it'd be great. And then you could build tank traps and barbed wire all over the beaches, and then employ 100,000 of a new Dog in a Manger Land border force, and they could patrol up and down, and they'd love that too. And they could stop foreigners coming in and say, "Excuse me, sir, is that your car? Have you packed it yourself? What's this I've just found here? Put your hands in the air, off you come, you're bound to rights." That sort of thing. Oh, they'd love it. Be lots of applications for those jobs. But the main thing about New Dog in a Manger Land is you could make it a one-party state. Guess which party that would be? Yeah, they love that. and they can do all the things that they want. Like, they could sell the BBC to Rupert Murdoch. They'll probably do that anyway. Because the BBC is a bit of a thorn in their flesh, because, I don't know, things like unbiased news doesn't do people like that any good. So don't worry though, all the other people in the reunited kingdom, you've all got slices of the BBC, so keep it running. And tell people what's actually going on. That would be good, wouldn't it? And the other thing you could do in Dagenham land would be sell the National Health Service. That'd be great. I remember when Attila the Hen was in charge, she sold all the old people's homes, which were run by the councils and counties and that sort of stuff, to the private sector. A lot of her friends made a lot of money out of skinning old people over these years. It's great. Before, you used to just pay your pension in and that would cover it, but now in the private homes you have to take all your savings out, pay for it, and then remortgage your home. That goes eventually. So all you guys that your parents went through care in the private sector, what did you get in the way of an inheritance? You got nothing, because they were skinned right to the last penny. And but you've got to remember that someone got an inheritance, but it wasn't you. So that's what's going to happen with the health service. They've seen that you could make money out of skinning old people, and they've just recently just privatized care for kids. Oh, how sweet, eh? Making money out of caring for poor kids. Oh, brilliant. But the best thing is with the national health, everyone gets sick at some time, so there's loads of money to be made, hey? Fantastic. But the other thing that they're eventually going to do, I think, is they started trying to do it recently, brought out that they were going to sort of up the working week and drop things down, and they got yoked back a bit because they thought maybe it's too soon to do that. Let's just wait 12 months, something like that. So what they will do, Dagenham land, I'm sure they'll put the working week up to 75 hours, and then they'll lower the minimum wage down to 2 shillings and 6pence an hour, thus turning the whole country back 200 or 300 years, when the vast majority of people lived in poverty or drudgery, while a small minority swan around their stately homes thinking of ways to amuse themselves. But there you go. Everyone will be happy, I'm sure. So that's it, the reunited kingdom. And I hope when the time comes, you people in Yorkshire will vote for me for your prince. And my slogan's going to be, vote for Tex, cross the line. Right, I'm going to sing you a song now. I said I would do. It was a promise. God, I'd make a terrible politician, wouldn't I? Now, this song is called Both Sides of the Tweed. It's about the union between Scotland and England. It's a bit of a misnomer, that, the union. It's like the Commonwealth. Although in some ways the Commonwealth does work, because it's you guys are common, we'll have all the wealth. So it works in some ways. But the union between England and Scotland, Scotland fought for many, many years gallantly to preserve Scotland, but they were outnumbered. They won some battles, but eventually they lost it. They lost it at Culloden when the clans were massacred by Butcher Cumberland. So they didn't really have much choice. But you do have choice now. So this song is also a joyous song. It's called Both Sides of the Tweed. It's about the boundary between Scotland and England, the traditional boundary along the Tweed. And it basically says that all nations should respect each other and love each other. And it's a nice song. But first of all, I've got to go and get my hat. Hang on, I can't sing this in a Stetson. Here we go, Both Sides of the Tweed. It's like my crown, made it myself. It's made of paper, and don't need a golden crown. And It's got Yorkshire on the front, if you can read it. It's got how much on the back, and it's got Tex and Rex. Both sides of the tweed. Here we go. What's the springtime breathing jasmine or rose? What's the summer with all its gay train? Or the splendour of autumn to those who have bartered their freedom for gain? Let the love of our land sacred rights to the love of our people succeed. Let friendship and honour unite and flourish on both sides of the tweed. Let virtue distinguish the brave, place riches in lowest degree. Think them poorest who would be a slave, and richest who dared to be free. Let the love of our land sacred rights to the love of our people succeed. Let friendship and honour unite and flourish on both sides of the tweed. No brightness the gloom can e'er clear, that corruption and bribery bind. No sweetness the heart can e'er cheer, for honour's the sum of the mind. Let the love of our land sacred rights to the love of our people succeed. Let friendship and honour unite and flourish on both sides of the tweed. Thank you all kindly, and remember, vote Tex, cross the line.